Hello everybody and welcome to November. So I thought we could play around with a different medium today. I have not used ink for a long time. I used to love using ink, and I don't know why, but I've sort of got out of using it. And there's sort of various different inks, some of which I cannot find, which is vexing me no end. So I've got some fountain pen ink, which we can use. I've got some acrylic ink. And I also have ink in these markers as well that we can use. These are the Jane Davenport Mermaid markers. And I hardly ever use them because two reasons. Well, firstly, they do bleed through most pages unless they're gessoed, but you don't always want to gesso a page, so there's that. And secondly, they are really expensive. I used to stock Jane Davenport products. I don't anymore, and they're really expensive, particularly to get in the UK. She's from Australia, and they're quite pricey, so I hardly ever use them. But you know, that's not good now, is it? They're going to dry up and stuff. So got a palette, some water, and some good brushes. Well, all of my brushes could do with a bit of an overhaul, to be honest, but you want to use your better conditioned brushes or your watercolor brushes when working with ink, and some either watercolor paper or some pretty robust paper, shall we say. So this is paper. So when I often make like journals and things, I'll often use paper, or I'll take paper out if my journal's getting too big. And I always save the paper because you never know when it's going to come in handy. I'm just ripping the edges because part of it was already ripped, as you saw, and I just feel like the whole thing should be ripped. So the other thing I was going to say is, so not only going to paint with ink today, also going to do a mono painting, like a one colour, just for funsies. So I'm just sort of thinking about the colour that I want to use. I know what I want to paint. I have it in my mind's eye. Sometimes I can't always get out what my vision, do you know what I mean? I can't always visualize it. So let's just do some tests. Right, so let's get our brush, and we want to put it in water, get our brush nice and wet, and use a bit of ink, and we can just look at the colour of that. Now, ink is far more pigmented than watercolour. So you can see that I've just, keep adding water, and it just goes and goes and goes. So yeah, when we started off, just like watercolour, when we started off, we go dark, and the more we paint with it, the lighter it goes. And if we want to dilute it, we just add more water, and then, you can keep that, and you've got yourself a little background. So yeah, painting with ink is very, very similar to painting with watercolour. It kind of reacts in the same way because it's a wet medium. It reacts pretty much in the same way. So we're just going to have to be a little bit mindful that we don't go too close together, and it doesn't wick. Where water goes, colour flows. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little touch. Oh, the tension. Trouble is, I don't want to make it too dark. We've probably got black now, but we're going to go with that. That's a beautiful blue colour, but I wanted it a bit more of a navy. I was going to use these artist trading cards, which I might do a miniature version. We'll see. I don't always paint that small. But yeah, I wanted to kind of get you into looking at ink and the like, because I thought we could move on another month to do some like drawing with ink. So I'm going to do a little house. I'm feeling all in the like cozy vibes at the moment. So I'm going to do a little house, but I'm going to do this like very folk arty, or well, I say very folk arty. It's not necessarily my area of expertise per se, but what I mean is I'm going to do it in more of a like a childlike, a simplistic style house. So it's what I mean is it's not going to be like a full-on bedecked house. Okay, I quite like the colour actually. It's gone more of a green, isn't it, with the black in it. So I think so yeah, think sort of, oh no, look, my brush, it just fell in the water. Right, well that's that then. Next brush, people. So whenever you see like children's kind of paintings, I just love how like there's always a triangle roof for the house. So this is what I'm saying about where water goes, where water flows, colour goes. Okay, so I'm going to leave a little gap under the roof there, and so the roof is sort of going to be floating. Okay, so I want to just make sure I leave some squares for the windows, because you know they'll have to be home, won't they, with their lights on. Square for the door, and I'll think about the door in a minute. Right, so now as we've done before in our paintings, we've gone from left, I'm going from left to right, you can go right to left, you can go top to bottom, bottom to top, it's entirely up to you. So you'll get that, it's quite hard to see, but you start to get that gradient of where you've used the paint and the paint is coming out of your brush because you haven't reloaded. It's quite hard to see on like camera, I should imagine, but I can see it in real life. Okay, just gonna feather that out a little bit. So yeah, just like watercolor. Oh, this paintbrush is bent, that's why. So just like watercolor, you know, you can have a little, you get so much time, you know, you have to work out how much time you'll get depending on the type of paper you're using and how wet everything is. You'll get a certain amount of time to work with the ink before it soaks into the paper and it's dried and you can't move it around anymore. Okay, so I'm going to just add some crosses on the windows using the tippy top of my brush to make it thinner, you know, because it's a proper house. Okay, and then my house needs a chimney. So it's a rectangle for my chimney. And sometimes, like, you know, you might be thinking, well, this is really simple, this is really basic. You know, what's going on here, Anna? Sometimes we need to go back to that basics, back to the beginnings, back to more of a childlike state, because children, when they create, they just create for having fun most of the time, whereas us adults, we are so into perfectionism, you know, and it makes us lose our sense of wonder and our sense of fun, you know. We're just striving to be perfect all the time, but we don't need perfect. We just need to play and have fun. Okay, so I've watered my colour down a bit more because I'm going to do some smoke coming out. And so I'm going to go up and then I'm going to do a heart shape. Come back down. Okay. Now I'm just going to use a little bit of toilet tissue just to block that. So yeah, as I said, because you can use this in just the same way that you work with watercolour. So you can just block bits up if you want to. Go. Okie dokie, nice little shade. And then yeah, as I said, I'm really feeling the whole hygge vibe at the moment. Now the nights are drawing in, you know, cozying down with, you know, a blanket and all that kind of thing. So I'm going to go for a more kind of, yeah, kind of got to go for a little bit of hyggeness, I think. So I'm going to write underneath just a very simple word, home. And I'm going to hopefully fit it in the same size as the house. If I can remember how to spell home. The pressure. Okay, and I just want this like really, really simplistic, like folk arty home. And like, you know, I quite like that as it is. Like if you had a new home card to send to someone, that would be quite nice as like a little card topper, I think. But I'm going to keep going because, as I said, I want to water it down a bit more, but not as much as the chimney. Just remember to wash your palettes out afterwards because ink does stain if you're bothered. You know me, I sort of abuse my stuff. So I'm going to go from bottom and curve out to the top with some leaves. Okay, that is quite a thick brush, so might have to do the bottom over here with that same size brush, and then swap my brush over. The trouble is my thinner ones I've been somewhat neglected. I'm not very kind to my brushes. I need to start like a petition. My brushes do, like, be more kind. Okay, I might have to go back to that bent one. Okay, so what I do is I do a heart shape, and then I start again. Heart, 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 heart. And that has run. Ugh, what did I say about where water flows, colour goes? That's okay. I'll blot that up so it's a little bit lighter then. It's quite forgiving, I think, really. And, you know, working with ink's quite forgiving. But what I like about inks over watercolours is how rich and pigmented the colours are. I mean, you can get a nice rich pigmentation using watercolours, but particularly if you're new, I just really love working with inks, and I don't know why I haven't done it for so long. Yeah, and as I say, we're going to look at drawing another month, maybe January. Perhaps look at drawing with inks and a dip pen, because I feel like December should be a festive thing. And then, so yeah, we'll look at drawing with a dip pen. So dip pens are not as expensive to buy as you might think. You know, I think I bought one once for like £1. You know, it was, or a couple of quid. It wasn't that bad. So if you maybe would like to try something like that, then perhaps think about asking Father Christmas for a dip pen and some ink. This I got from, this cross one I've had for such a long time. I got this from Paper Chase in Cambridge, and I think it was a tenner, 62mm. And yeah, I've had this for a very long time. You can also crack open, if you have got fountain pen cartridges, you can crack them open and use those, just pour them in as well. Okay, so what else do we associate with home? I don't know about you, but I associate a nice cup of tea. So I'm going to draw myself in a little teapot. My teapots all have little bubbles on the top. Okay, and it depends on, you know, like this, you know, if you want to do more of like a coffee pot style, whether you want to do a round pretty bud. So we're just doing a little curve like that, and then a little V shape for the spout. Okay. And we're going to do the little handle. A bit wider. Go. And we'll do a cup over here. Hand around the other way to face. Do I want to do a plate? Should we do a plate? Do a saucer? Plate, what am I like? Okay, so I'm just leaving a little gap at the bottom of the cup there. Cool. Let's just do a couple of little folky sort of flowers. So some little dots for the centre. And then for these flowers, I sort of do an open heart. So we don't quite go to the bottom when we're drawing the petals on these flowers. See if I can fit how many you gotta fit in. Yeah, do one over here. I just feel like when you're using just one colour and you're doing something a little bit more detailed, a little bit more precise, I feel like you can just switch off a bit. Your mind, you know, when you're using one colour, you don't have to be thinking about, put some leaves on that one by the way, you don't have to be thinking about, oh, what's next, because you're using the one colour. It's already thought about for you. And I find that quite liberating, quite freeing actually, just to kind of get lost or absorbed in the details in your painting. Okay, just popped a couple of hearts on there. So what you can do is when as well you can layer up. So when it's dry, if it's quite pale, you can layer up. So excuse me, I use the watered down ink. So now I'm going to use the concentrated ink, and I'm just going to put a little heart in the middle. But what did I tell you? Oh my goodness, I told you where water goes. Oh, this is the problem when I'm filming. I do this so much. I forget I'm filming, and I kind of like get carried away, and that's what happens. Right, let's try again, see if it's dry enough. If not, we'll just, there we go. There we go. It's actually worked out quite sweet, actually, hasn't it? And I'm going to put a dark bit in there for the coffee. Oh, no, that hadn't dried properly either. So, yeah, try and be more patient than I am. Okay. Oh. There we go. Right. So, yeah, just have a little experiment with it. Just going to add a few more hearts because I like the sort of simplicity of it, and I do like the like the monochrome of it. And this is definitely one of those things. This is definitely one of those pieces where you want to quit. You know, you don't want to just keep going. I know sometimes you enjoying yourself, but if you want to do something minimalistic like this, just think, well, I can always do another one, because sometimes the art, as I've said, the art before is knowing when to stop, because sometimes it needs more and sometimes it is just perfect, just how it is, and it's knowing what to leave out sometimes. I'm just putting a few little diddly dots in. And then what I'll probably do is when it has dried, I shall probably rip this down smaller to make it, I'll make it smaller. But yeah, what do you think? A little monochrome cougar, minimalistic. I find that, for me, this is so peaceful and relaxing. Yeah, that's just perfect for me. And actually, I know someone who's moving house, so I might send this to them. Okie dokes. And I'm not going to do anything with windows. You know, if you want to colour them in yellow so it looks like the lights are on, then, you know, that would be lovely. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed and you have a go at painting with ink. See you guys.